Well, there you have it, people. PlayStation has responded to Xbox's recent acquisition of Activision with another bold industry move. One I think that still feels like a shock to the system. This has just happened for me. Now, some commentators had speculated that something like this was bound to happen after recent events, and even me personally, I wasn't so sure. But in case you don't already know, PlayStation has announced that it will soon acquire Destiny developer Bungie for a modest $3.6 billion. Yep, you heard that correctly. Begun the studio buying wars have, as PlayStation seemingly hopes to secure its future in the first-person shooter space by nabbing one of the best free-to-play franchises around. This news comes just under a month before Destiny 2 is set to receive its biggest expansion yet in The Witch Queen on February 22nd, and a little under 2 weeks ago since Xbox's Activision buyout was made public. This massive surprise has only just come to light after head of PlayStation Studios Herman Hulst confirmed it in a tweet earlier this evening, stating, quote, "I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome Bungie to the PlayStation family. Bungie create community-driven games with outstanding technology that are enormously fun to play, and I know that everyone at PlayStation Studios will be excited about what we can share and learn together." Now, this particular studio purchase isn't only significant because it's the most that PlayStation has ever spent acquiring a single developer, not even because it guarantees a celebrated shooter on PlayStation 4 and 5 for the foreseeable future. No, but because Bungie was, of course, once owned by Activision before going independent just a few years ago. And one can't help but feel like there's an alternate timeline somewhere out there where Xbox also took Bungie as part of that original Activision buyout. But as Sony is now trying to make clear, they aren't willing to go down without a fight. Head of PlayStation, Jim Ryan, further fleshed out how the new PlayStation cross-Bungie relationship will work once all the details are ironed out, as stated on the official PlayStation blog. Quote, "Bungie's world-class expertise in multi-platform development and live game services will help us deliver on our vision of expanding PlayStation to hundreds of millions of gamers. Bungie is a great innovator and has developed incredible proprietary tools that will help PlayStation Studios achieve new heights under Herman Hulst's leadership." Now, it's worth noting that Big Jimmy himself went to great pains, opening the blog straight away to state that Bungie, for the most part, will remain an independent multi-platform studio, almost making it sound like that Bungie won't be strictly taken under its wing, but rather sit alongside it as an equal. This was further emphasised by Bungie's very own CEO, Pete Parsons, who wrote, quote, "Like us, Sony believes that game worlds are only the beginning of what our IPs can become. Together, we share a dream of creating and fostering iconic franchises that unite friends around the world, families across generations, and fans across multiple platforms and entertainment mediums." So that just about does it now in terms of the pure facts, but you know what comes next. It's time to discuss what this all means. Now, part of me is happy that Sony is starting to make some very interesting moves in order to keep the PlayStation ecosystem interesting and not have it fall by the wayside. However, the cynical side of me is saying that Sony's hand was somewhat forced to pull a maneuver like this, if only to prevent Microsoft from buying up Bungie itself and thus securing the ultimate shooter dominance. The truth is, we'll likely never know how everything went down, at least not in the immediate future. Whether Bungie was originally planning on being acquired, or whether Jim Ryan and the rest of Sony proposed an offer so strong that it couldn't refuse, is something we may find out one day. Either way, I personally, even as a lapsed Destiny fan, am happy that PlayStation will still have a massive shooter under its first-party belt for the foreseeable future, especially since Bungie are quite literally the very best in the business, with only somebody like EA's Respawn even coming close to matching them for pure gun feel and general shooter gameplay. My mind is already exploding at the idea of Sony potentially giving Bungie the keys to either an established franchise like Resistance or Killzone, if only to see what they do with it. Bungie will obviously now be able to tap into more resources than ever before, and from all the statements we've heard so far and those that I featured in the video, it sounds like PlayStation's intention is to be very hands-off, which could be the right step going forward. It's funny how it was just a few weeks ago now that gaming audiences were finding it funny how ironic it was to see Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon welcomed into the Microsoft family. Well, now Sony are countering with an equally as ballsy response, going so far as to acquire the studio originally responsible for Xbox's biggest ever brand in Halo. Just imagine what might happen if Bungie is able to pull off something similar with Killzone, Resistance, or if we're being totally honest with ourselves, most likely an entirely new first-person shooter IP. There's plenty of reasons to be excited now though, that's for sure. News is still coming in hot and fast, so I'm trying to keep my head straight. But apparently certain industry journos are claiming that the Bungie and PlayStation deal may have been in the works for as long as 6 months. And I can't lie, this is somewhat relieving to me. It shows that PlayStation is still being calculated about the moves it's making and not just making some gut punch decisions, while still having the bravery to try and widen its first-party brand portfolio beyond the open world narrative driven kind of games it's become so accustomed to. Obviously, I know that some people were speculating that a publisher like Square Enix or Capcom would have made sense for Sony to purchase, seeing as both share close proximity, being based in Japan. That said, Bungie could go some way into bolstering an underserved genre that the PlayStation fanbase has been craving for so long now, so it's hard to be disappointed. Not since 2013's Killzone Shadowfall on PS4 have we had a first-party shooter. I say all this despite still believing that I think industry consolidation is bad. Don't hate me for it, guys. It seems like Xbox and PlayStation are, at the moment anyway, forever destined, see what I did there? To be locked into this battle of seeing who's got the biggest muscles. And believe me when I say that this is far from the last we'll see. Xbox recently drained itself of almost 70 billion, so I can't imagine that they'll be spending that kind of cash anytime soon. And even PlayStation doesn't have that kind of money to play with. However, as mentioned earlier, Sony's hand has been forced somewhat by Microsoft's aggression, so this at least keeps things interesting. Anyway guys, that's my 2 cents on what is happening with Sony purchasing Bungie right now, welcoming the storied first-person shooter developer into the PlayStation Studios family. It really is quite wild. Can't we just have one normal week? Apparently not. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Sony's latest move? $3 billion for the makers of Halo. Seems like a pretty good deal in comparison to what Xbox just paid for Activision. Anyway, let me know in the comment section below. And once you've done that, be sure to leave this video a like if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing to the Pushsquare YouTube channel for everything else PlayStation related. Until then, thank you as ever for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.